Greetings and welcome everyone to the ICBC Brand India session. We continue our webinar series in collaboration with the Consulate General of India, Vancouver, to facilitate trade and business ties between the two countries. After covering Saskatchewan and British Columbia in the last few weeks, the province in focus today is Alberta. The session will include a round of remarks from our speakers, followed by a 15 minutes Q&A, for which I highly encourage members in the audience to post their queries in the chat box as we proceed. Alternatively, you can also email me your questions as we listen, and I can post it on your behalf. I'll be posting my email address on the chat box for all of you to see. Without further delay, I would like to request ICBC CEO Nadira Hamid to make her welcome remarks. Over to you, Nadira.
Thank you, Shavik. And welcome everyone to this session on Invest in India and this, in fact, Brand India. And as Shavik said, we are very, very pleased to have these sessions with the support of the Consulate General of India in British Columbia. In fact, Manish ji is here with us and we are very pleased to have his support. We've had a couple of sessions already with him and it's worked out very well. Just to very, very briefly, we had Minister Mary Ng, Minister for Economic Trade, who visited India, and she and our Minister Piyush Goyal had very successful joint meetings. And I think we are all set for good trade agreements to come into place. And I think that is going to be a very big step forward for the relationship, the business relationship between India and Canada. And we are all looking very much forward to that. So I'm also, along with acknowledging and welcoming Consul General Manish and his team, Mr. Manjeesh Grover is here with us as well. I'm also very pleased to welcome Megan Zimmerman at Calgary Economic Development, and Jennifer Lussier from Platform Calgary. Aastha Sharma is here as well from Invest India, who will present a few helpful insights into doing business in India. I just wanted to say that the purpose of these sessions is to encourage business between India and Alberta. And in recent years, in fact, there has been a lot of investment both from Indian companies into Alberta, and Alberta has been exploring India as a great business destination. And we're very keen to move ahead with that and facilitate it even further. I think Manjeesh, Mr. Grover, and of course CG Manish are going to present a few slides on the sectors that are in focus and the kind of investments that have already been made in India and Canada. And I will let them carry on with that because they will have a better idea about the exact trade figures. But just want to say that a lot of trade has been done with dried peas and lentils, plastics, mineral fuel, medical instruments, and machinery. And besides this, I think we have had major players from the Indian industry have opened up offices and provided employment in Alberta as well. And we want to carry on this great work. There's a lot of potential to increase the stats that I think Manish ji will be presenting, and technology, agri-food and mineral sectors are especially in focus. So now let me take the opportunity to welcome Consul General Manish. He has been a career diplomat for over 22 years and before Vancouver served at other important missions like Moscow, Tashkent, Prague, Colombo and Jakarta. Having served as Consular for Economic and Commercial Initiatives in Colombo in the past, he has extensive experience in strategic trade and commercial and development cooperation issues, which will be helpful for Canada, India as well. Consul General, welcome, and I request you to make your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadira, for the introduction. On behalf of Consulate General of India in Vancouver and my colleagues here, I welcome all of you this morning for this special session between India and Alberta. Good evening to my friends who have joined from India. It is a bit late in India, I think almost 8:30 or 9:30, but great to see all of you who are there to support India-Canada relationship. As Nadira said in her opening remarks, that the trade ministers visit, the trade talks which just happened earlier this month, was very successful, and it has set a big agenda for economic partnership between the two countries. Our SEPA negotiation, which has been in works for many years, will restart once again, and the chief negotiators on both sides will start talking to each other. But they will also come out with a smaller package deal for the economic agenda, which all of you are aware of. I will not dwell on that, but I take a moment to recognize my friends and colleagues from Alberta, Ms. Megan, who is a director in the Calgary Economic Development, and Ms. Jennifer from Platform Calgary, and my colleague from Invest India. Invest India has always been there to support our program. Last evening only we did a real estate session with Invest India and the PIO community in BC. Talking about big picture India-Canada bilateral relation, the economic corridor is about $100 billion worth. This year has been especially encouraging. We had a 12% increase in our bilateral trade in goods and services. In terms of Canadian dollars, it amounts to about $13.5 billion. Both FDI, pension funds, trade in goods and services are increasing in high numbers. All the pension fund houses, including IMCO of Alberta, is investing in Indian infrastructure space. Overall, the political relations between India and Canada is solid. We are a strategic partner. But coming to the provincial level, Alberta has been a special supporter of relationship. The Premier is very vocal supporter of sound economic partnership with India. He leads the pack of premiers who wants economic engagement with India, including some of his key cabinet ministers, the jobs minister, the infrastructure minister, all are good friends of India. If I may show some numbers, I cover 5 of the provinces in Western Canada. Out of that, British Columbia, followed by Alberta, followed by Saskatchewan, are the 3 major provinces which contribute to the Indo-Canadian bilateral trade in goods and services. Of course, India exported $815 million worth of goods to our 3 provinces, which comprises of 17% of our exports. So for our Indian exporters, there is a huge amount of opportunity. We only sell to Canada about 17% of our exports. 83% goes to Eastern Canada, which mainly goes to Ontario and Quebec and all. So there is a lot of scope for Indian exporters. I think we have some slides to show. Sobik, if you can show some of our import-export slides. This is Alberta India specific trade. You can see the numbers, how total exports to India has been decreasing from Alberta. From India, imports is, so trade balance is in favor of India by a small amount, but the top 10 products is visible on the screen. Nadira mentioned about agri products. I think lentils and chickpeas and others also are coming from Alberta. Government of India just before the ministerial visit gave a concession to the Canadian lentils exporters to India. I think there is now Canadian exporters are at par with US exporters. Next slide. So agriculture is one opportunity for both of us. I think I know that a lot of people, Indian heritage people who are based out of Alberta, are also into agri-trade. Agri-tech is one opportunity. So is the energy-related industry, because Alberta is a province which has a lot of expertise in energy and gas, oil and gas sector and ancillary sectors. So we can cooperate in this. And I understand there is a lot of interest in India to participate in events around oil and gas industry, and Indian Chamber of Commerce based out of Calcutta is planning to bring a big delegation to participate in the upcoming trade fair in Alberta. So energy and around energy sector, there are a lot of opportunities where we can cooperate. So this slide is what is on the screen. You see that what Alberta imports from India in 2021, engineering commodities are there. I think top 3-4 of them, iron, steel, some agri product, jewelry, and as I said, there is a lot of scope for increasing our exports to Alberta as well as BC and Saskatchewan. Education is another area where we have a lot of opportunities to cooperate. I think the Alberta is housing some very premier educational institute. I list out just 2 of them for the purposes of discussion today: University of Alberta as well as University of Calgary. These are 2 prestigious universities in Alberta, which has MOU institutional linkages with our institutions in our country, and a lot of Indian students go there to study. Alberta is also home to you must have seen last year 2 big IT companies from India have made announcement to set up their centers in Calgary. One is Infosys, another one is Emphasis. Between them, they have announced that they will create about 2,500 jobs. And Alberta has been able to attract investments out of India because of their incentives policy, which we will hear from the stakeholders who are present here today from Alberta. Another, as I said, education sectors, we are trying to work with these 2 universities and set up India chairs. So in coming weeks, we will be formalizing agreement between ICCR and these 2 universities to set up a short-term India chairs. So it will also add value to these universities by providing Indian studies there. In terms of emerging opportunities, I would like to mention that all of you are aware that India is one of the fastest growing economies in the world. It is projected to grow about 9.2% this fiscal, and similarly for next fiscal also. We have climbed a number of ease of doing business we have improved, and competitive index we have improved. As I said, between the 2 countries, our opportunities are there in petrochemical and refinery industries. There exists opportunity of India's investment in research and value-added processing, education and training. Areas of opportunity for Alberta companies include oil and gas equipment and services, power equipment and engineering services, information technology products, environmental technology and management, industrial machinery and equipment, and things like that. As I said, politically, we have a solid relations with Alberta, and last such a visit to India by a premier or the ministers level happened in quite some time back, I think 2018 and 19. So it is long overdue. I think I'd encourage, now time is ripe, India is open to, if the provincial government can lead a business delegation in India. I know that Invest Alberta is present in High Commission of Canada in New Delhi. And they work very closely with Nadira and other trade bodies in India. But there, with post-COVID phase, we have a lot of opportunities and synergies to work towards it. And as I said, politically, we have a very good relationship, and we keep on talking and meeting leaders of Alberta at various levels, including High Commissioner, my level and my colleagues. So we look forward for a productive session this morning, and I will, from our side, I think Invest India will present the opportunities available in India. Similarly, Megan and Jennifer will give a snapshot of what opportunities are there for Indians in Alberta. Thank you once again for having me in this program, and look forward for a fruitful session this morning.
Thank you, Consul General, for your remarks and that wonderful overview on highlighting all those immense opportunities that exists and needs to be co-created. We continue to support your mandate and promote your business engagements, especially this time with Alberta, which is a promising province for India-based exporters, entrepreneurs, IT companies, and the like. I now take the opportunity to welcome Megan Zimmerman from the Calgary Economic Development. Megan oversees business development initiatives, and in the past, she has also supported the expansion and attraction of energy companies in the oil and gas sector, renewable energy sector, and clean tech sector. Megan, welcome, and may I request you to please give us your insights on the opportunities in Calgary.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just going to share my screen.
Sure.
Okay. Looks like you can see it, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Good morning from Calgary. Good evening in India. Thank you for staying up late. I'll try to keep you awake. It's great to be here today. And I'm going to share a little bit with you, just a little teaser, because we don't have a lot of time, about Calgary, which we call the city of choice for the world's best entrepreneurs. And I say that because this is the vision statement for the economic strategy of Calgary, that we will embrace technology to solve the world's greatest challenges in energy, which of course you would expect, but also in food, transportation, and health. And we certainly can't do it alone. And so we invite companies from around the world, and particularly India, as we've seen in the last couple of years, a lot of great relationships between our two countries, to join us on this journey to solve the world's greatest problems. Now, you might be wondering why Calgary. There's a lot of great cities in Canada, and we get asked every day, why Calgary over the other cities? So I'm going to go a little bit deeper into 5 key areas that I would say summarize the reason that people come to Calgary. The first, of course, is the market opportunity, which you'll hear a little bit more about. The second is talent, the talent we have, the talent we're developing, and the talent we're retaining and attracting. The third is our tech and innovation ecosystem and how that has evolved quite rapidly over the past number of years. Of course, the low cost and competitive business environment here for business, and not to forget our quality of life. And you can see a picture there of the Canadian Rocky Mountains that I get to spend every weekend in. So starting with market opportunity, we did some research in the last couple of years to quantify the digital transformation spend in Calgary. And of course, so many companies coming from India are focused on digital transformation, the overlay of technologies in all of our traditional and industrial sectors. That market opportunity between now and 2024, so quite immediate, is $20 billion. So that's the forecast digital spend in the province of Alberta. Calgary is expected to lead more than half of that digital spend. And you can see the breakdown there in sectors. And I think it's important to mention, obviously, oil and gas, energy and environment leads a lot of that digital work. But you can see there's still forecast spend in many other industries: transportation, financial services, retail, agribusiness, even things like film and television and creative industries, where I know we've had some great collaboration with Indian companies. So I think that creates a very unique market opportunity here in the city of Calgary. It's certainly the reason why Infosys and Emphasis chose to come to Calgary last year. Couple that with the fact that Calgary is a city of decision makers. People often don't realize that we have the highest head office per capita in Canada, outside of Toronto, of course, who has a lot of head offices as well. But per capita, we have a lot of those decision makers here in Calgary, and they're not just in oil and gas, they're in many other industries. So it means when you're coming here as a technology company like Emphasis, you can work with your customers, with the decision makers, the people that are making, the strategy, building that strategy around where their company is going to go and how they can work together. And it's important to remember this is certainly not just oil and gas. There are many, many companies here that call Calgary home across, the big areas you see there: agribusiness, life sciences, financial services, of course, technology, but that extends into creative industries, logistics, transportation, and even aerospace. So Calgary and the province of Alberta is a lot more diverse than I think people give us credit for. And that's why I like to point it out. Now, I have to talk about talent. We know it's where the buck stops. It's the most important thing everybody asks us about. It's the priority conversation every time we talk to a company. How do you retain talent? How are you upskilling and training talent? You mentioned the post-secondary. Certainly, we have world-class institutions here across the province of Alberta. And so for us, this is 3 pillars. We are focused on retaining the graduates coming out of those post-secondaries, reskilling a lot of our talent, particularly energy professionals that might have been laid off or are underemployed over the last few years as we've seen structural changes in the energy sector. Lots of opportunity for reskilling and micro-credentialing. And then, of course, attracting people here. So we do work hard to attract people from other parts of Canada that are very expensive, as you'll see on a slide I have coming up, as well as internationally. And our government of Alberta has made it a lot easier for us to attract people here with our immigration programs. A couple of interesting points about the tech talent market in Calgary that are worth sharing. Our tech talent pool has grown by 18% over the past 5 years. We've seen 300% increase in tech training program completions since 2019. And a lot of the upskilling and micro-credentialing I mentioned is being driven by private sector partnerships. So you'll hear in a second, emphasis is certainly going to be doing that in partnership with the University of Calgary, Amazon, AWS is doing a big program with Mount Royal University and so on. So there's a lot of private sector drive towards tech talent development in the city. Obviously, emphasis will get mentioned a lot. It's an emphasis. They're both really great success stories of last year. Emphasis has made a big investment with the University of Calgary in quantum, and I think that's going to be a game changer and a real differentiator for Calgary within the context of Canada and even North America. So we're really excited about that center of excellence they're going to build out in quantum technology. And we're actually hosting some of their executives here in Calgary in April. So they're finally coming to market. Other notable investments last year, in addition to emphasis, RBC, large Canadian bank, of course, expanded 300 people into Calgary in a tech and R&D capacity. Amazon Web Services built their second largest data region in Canada outside of Montreal here in Calgary. It's a $4.5 billion investment that was announced in 2021. And Calgary got its second airline outside of WestJet that most people know that have been operating for 25 years. We now have Lynx Air. So that just increases our competitiveness and the ease of doing business in Calgary, because obviously there's more options to get in and out of the city by air. A couple of interesting momentum points I wanted to make when people say, what's happening in Calgary? How is your ecosystem evolving? I mentioned immigration. Just this year in January, the government of Alberta introduced the Accelerated Tech Pathway, which is a fast track system for companies that are operating in the province to bring their top tech talent from other parts of the world in a much shorter fashion. That's really important. We want to be competitive amongst the Canadian provinces. We're the only North American city that has all of these global accelerators that have come together in one city, including Plug and Play from Silicon Valley, Thrive, which is a big agribusiness accelerator out of the US, and Endeavor. So last year, we saw a huge influx of these investors and accelerators and incubators coming to Calgary because they're betting big on the opportunity here and they want to be part of scaling really great technology. And then, of course, a good measure of a healthy ecosystem is the investment coming into the province. We're always tracking year over year venture capital. We continue to see, you can see the stat there, huge increases in VC into the province. And Calgary gets its fair share, recognizing that we have homegrown technologies worth investing in, but obviously a lot of companies coming in that are scaling here as well from other markets. The tax advantage, of course, is worth mentioning. There's a couple of unique aspects and competitive aspects to doing business in Alberta compared to our other provincial counterparts. We're the only province with no provincial sales tax. We have the lowest corporate income tax in Canada at 8%. And then other things, of course, like no payroll tax and no healthcare premiums and so on. So that's really competitive. A lot of businesses say that matters a lot and certainly plays to our advantage here in the province of Alberta. And just a couple quick slides more for the visual for everybody to see. Affordability is really important. It's very expensive to operate a company in cities like Vancouver and Toronto and Montreal. Calgary has lots of abundant office space, Class A, high quality office space in downtown Calgary. And you can see the cost per square foot is very inexpensive compared to some of those other cities, which companies are finding really attractive. Of course, you pair that with our high quality of life. I mentioned how close we are to the Rocky Mountains in Banff, which is, of course, known throughout the world. We've been ranked as the most livable city in North America for about 9 years straight. And, a lot of sun. Great for the renewable energy developers with 333 days of sunshine in Calgary. So that's good for the mood. And it's very affordable. You can see the average house price in Calgary there, it fluctuates, but, about $500,000 compared to our friends in Toronto and Vancouver that are well over $1 million. So that's an important part of our value proposition. It's certainly the reason a lot of American, specifically Seattle and Silicon Valley companies are looking north of the border, is the cost of doing business and living for their people has just become quite challenging. So to close, I will just mention my organization that I work for is Calgary Economic Development. We are a not-for-profit organization that works closely with partners like Platform and the City of Calgary to support investment coming into the city. So our team does things like support with real estate search when companies are coming in. Obviously, we have a lot of initiatives around supporting talent development and attraction and career fairs for companies. We can be a great amplifier for companies coming into the market that are trying to build a brand and share their story locally. And then, of course, we're connected into the government, the industries here, and we can be a great connector and conduit for companies coming into the market. So I'm happy to help. I lead our business development team. I'd love to hear from any companies looking at the Calgary market. There's my contact information there, and I will pass the mic over to my colleague Jen. So thanks for having me.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you very much for that. It was good to hear your perspective on the current opportunities and the developing ecosystem and what Calgary economic development can offer to Indian entities. In continuation to what Calgary has to offer, I'd also like to formally introduce Jennifer Lussier, who's the Director for Growth at Platform Calgary. Being an entrepreneur herself, she supports high impact strategic partnerships plus revenue generating initiatives that ensures organizational sustainability. Welcome, Jennifer. Request you to please share your perspectives.
Thank you, Shuvik. Yes, hi, great to be here. Good evening to everybody in India and good morning to everyone else. Thanks so much for this opportunity to speak. So we're basically the third bullet on Megan's first slide there. We work specifically to accelerate, advance, better resource the tech and innovation ecosystem here in Calgary. We focus on 4 main areas: startup formation and growth, industry partnerships, investor engagement, and talent and hiring. And we do that through three major ways. First of all, through place. So we have in Calgary, historically, the tech community has been a little bit fragmented and many different organizations working almost independently. And so what we've done is we've put together and launched a 50,000 square foot physical space with a digital complement, an innovation hub, which is Calgary's highly visible, highly accessible front door for innovation for any age, stage, sector of entrepreneur, student, career changer, investor, ecosystem partner, academia, et cetera. And so pulling everything together in this highly visible way helps us all kind of point in the same direction. The second thing that we've done is we've been working over the past 2 years to align over 70 different organizations that work in technology in Calgary and Alberta and Canada and also globally to work again to better resource, reduce duplication, help entrepreneurs or students or investors find what they need faster. So it's about system navigation and streamlining the ecosystem so that everybody moves faster. So in that group of partners, we would have all of the post-secondary institutions, skill building academies, the investment community, others, accelerators, and incubators. So for example, Megan mentioned Plug and Play, SVG Thrive, 500 Global. All 3 of those organizations will have a presence here within our center to make it, again, easier for founders to access. We also have sector-specific partnerships. We have youth-focused organizations. And we have a large group of what we call community and capacity building groups. So let's say it's a meetup for product managers, for example, or data science, or across the ecosystem. If there's anything to do with a technology, a group that has some kind of interest, we are the literal platform for these groups to gather, host their workshops, get better connected, reach a bigger community. So the power that we have in the partner network is really the impact of that is really starting to come to life now. The third thing we have is programs. And so Platform has early stage fundamental entrepreneurial programming that we offer. And then we pull in with those investment grade accelerators such as 500 Global or SVG Thrive and Plug and Play to offer later stage companies that might be scaling or exporting, for example, to be able to get the support that they need. We have hubs in ag tech, in fintech, in clean tech, some of the Alberta being resource rich and having specific and unique challenges. There's a ton of opportunity in those resource economies in technology enabled business, and so we've focused really hard on gathering all those partners, all those investors, and all those founders into almost like sector specific hubs, again, to help everything move a bit faster. We do also have a startup visa program, and it's two components. We have a foreign graduate student program and then the startup visa program itself. It's been running for about 9 years, and I'm happy to share out further information on this and connect you with our lead that actually runs this program, because I can speak to it, but not as best as Ormel, our lead, could. But however, we've put approximately 36 companies through. The foreign graduate program is a provincial-led program, and that one you need to have graduated within the last 10 years. You don't need to be in revenue, but you need to have a business plan for an idea. You don't need to necessarily have any customers in North America, for example. And that's a 5-week program where a recent graduate would get advisory and educational programming to help integrate and launch that business plan here. The second one is the startup visa program, which is more focused on existing startups that are in market, in revenue, with customer commitments in North America, with a very strategic reason to come to Calgary. Megan went through all the many reasons why, what's happening in Calgary as far as industry, as far as affordability, access to market. And so we look at, when we're evaluating companies looking to come to Calgary, it's we're looking for that strategic fit. And then evaluation of course, on the revenue model and the business and the startup itself, the founding team, all of these things are very important. And with that program, it is a 1-year commitment with programming, advisory, and space. So you are able to have a place to land with your business. And what we're trying to do is obviously de-risk and set up a successful integration of those startups into the ecosystem here. So that's about it. I'm happy to, we'd love to chat more. I can post my contact details in the chat here. And thank you so much for the opportunity. I look forward to hearing your questions.
Thank you, Jennifer, for your remarks. I think many of our Indian businesses in the audience definitely found your information very helpful. There have been quite a few questions being posted on the chat box. I would now like to move forward and introduce Aastha Sharma at Invest India, which is the National Investment Promotion Agency of India under the Ministry of Commerce. She has previously worked with Niti Aayog, which is a policy think tank of the Government of India, in areas related to industrial development, manufacturing, trade, and indirect taxation, which I think would be a good area of interest to companies joining in from Canada to know. Welcome, Aastha. Request you to make your remarks now.
Thank you for that introduction. I'm just going to share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
So I'll quickly take you all through the ease of doing business reforms and steps that the government of India has been introducing of late. So we have a national land bank scheme wherein the government has been focused on promoting hassle-free land acquisition. There's a data repository for over 4,400 industrial parks, which have been mapped out into the National Land Bank. Primarily, we've also been focused on the production-linked incentive scheme to promote manufacturing in India. It's largely been introduced in 14 sectors, in India. There's the National Infrastructure Pipeline, which has been introduced across key sectors such as energy, irrigation, railways, etc. Government has had huge outlays laid out for this scheme. You'd all be aware of the GST, which was introduced in India. India also has one of the lowest corporate tax rates in Asia. India has a national IPR policy to streamline application processes for patenting. We also have the insolvency and bankruptcy code in place, which is going to facilitate investors with an easy exit. There's the custom bonded warehouse scheme, which allows zero-rated imports of inputs if the final good has been earmarked for exports. And we have the project development cells, which have been established in 29 ministries and departments. And these are headed by the cabinet secretary and an empowered group of secretaries. So it's all basically aimed at facilitating clearances and regulatory clearances, etc. In India and in promoting ease of doing business. So there is a foreign investment facilitation portal in place, which improves the transparency and approval processes for FDI. I think a lot of you would be aware of the fact that India, in almost more than 95% of the sectors have 100% FDI under automatic route now, which means no prior approval is required for the government from the government side. The national monetization pipeline has been in place, and the government has identified various sectors which are going to be open to private sector for their participation. There's a single window system for clearances in place, again, to basically cut through all the regulatory hassles that investors would generally face. We now have codified our labor reforms. And these are some of the other reforms that have also been in place. The industrial park rating system is, just in relation to the National Land Bank, this basically ranks all the various industrial parks in India. So investors know where to invest and what facilities are available in which industrial parks. So coming to the production-linked incentive scheme. So this has been one of the major key schemes of the government of India. It was announced in last year's budget. It's across 14 sectors to promote manufacturing in India and to attract large-scale investments. So since I was told a lot of the companies today are going to be from the technology sector, I'm just going to quickly go through the incentives available in the IT sector. So India is the #1 IT sourcing destination in the world. The market size has been around $195 billion US in the year 2020-21. We've seen about over 4.1 million people are employed in the IT sector in India. It contributes about 8% to the GDP of the country. So the key sectors emerging, the subsectors emerging within IT have been artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and blockchain technology market. So as you can see, the central policies which are focused on promoting IT sector investments, India has software technology parks, wherein the companies, if they're set up in these parks, they receive customs duty exemptions, central excise duty exemptions, etc. There are special economic zones in place, wherein duty-free import and domestic procurement of goods, etc. is allowed. In 2013, we came out with a national cybersecurity policy. And as you can see on the right side, almost all states in the country have a special IT policy. And the common state incentives that we see are rental subsidy, state duty exemption, power tariff subsidies, etc. So all these reimbursements are provided by most of the states in India for the IT sector. In general, if we see, the FDI has been on an increasing trend in the last 5 odd years in India, and 100% FDI is allowed through automatic route. So no prior approval is required in case investments in IT come in from outside of India. The top investor countries have been Singapore, US, Germany. The emerging themes have been SaaS, AI, ML, IoT, etc. We've seen global investors like Accenture, Capgemini, Microsoft, Alphabet, Intel, etc., all invest in India. So India is the preferred destination for global R&D spend. A lot of existing companies have actually set up their R&D operations in India. As you can see here, we've tried to capture some of the big brands that have set up special R&D centers in India: Oppo, Intel, Qualcomm, Samsung, OnePlus. So with regards to electronics manufacturing, India has been very focused on promoting electronics manufacturing. It's one of the top key priority areas for the government of India. So we have the production linked incentive scheme, which provides 4 to 6% incentive on incremental production for mobile phones and specified electronic components, and 2 to 4% of incentive is provided on incremental production for IT hardware. The SPEC scheme is focused on creating an ecosystem for semiconductors and electronic components. The incentive is about 25% on capital expenditure, and the target segments are electronic components, capital goods, etc. The EMC 2.0 scheme, the Modified Electronics Manufacturing Cluster scheme, is focused on creating an ecosystem, an infrastructure ecosystem for electronics manufacturing. So 50% of EMC, again, the incentive is provided by the government of India, and 75% for common facility centers as well is reimbursed by the central government. So you can see like the focus, India has been very focused on promoting electronics manufacturing. Around $30 billion of fiscal support has been given out, has been announced for this sector. So just quickly about Invest India, we are the National Investment Facilitation Agency of the Government of India. Our services are pro bono. We provide support at 3 levels. At the pre-investment level, we help with market research, FDI regulation analysis, segment information. We help with investments as well, with properties, lands, etc. We have dedicated desks for various states, for various sectors. And we help with clarifying to companies regarding compliance regulations, and we can connect with industry associations, etc. And aftercare as well. Once the industry and the company is set up in India, we do handhold them through any other support that they might need, as and when they proceed. These are our contact details as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aastha. In fact, thank you everyone, to all our speakers. With that, we conclude the round of remarks and presentations. I think in the next few minutes, before we close the session, I would request my colleagues who have just made their remarks to feel free to answer any of the posted questions if they choose to. Of course, we, like I had mentioned before the webinar began, we have had we will send out a feedback form, and if we get more questions, we'll be happy to share it with you post the session. CG, sir, there's a question, if you want to take it up right at the beginning, about there are a few companies who are looking to engage in large food processing industries from India. Can you hear us? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
So I'm just browsing through the question chat box to see what specific question is there on. Yeah, I mean, in terms of synergies in acquiring agri-tech technologies, I think there is a huge potential, and agri-tech companies are there in Canada, in all the provinces, including Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia, in my jurisdiction. I think there is also, the government of Canada also has a protein cluster. And I would suggest for those looking into finding partners in agri-tech or agri-space to visit in some of the shows or the fairs which is going to happen in near future. I'm not sure about Alberta, but I know for sure that there is a upcoming agri-tech fair in Saskatchewan, which is called Ag in Motion, which will be around mid-July. So that would be a good opportunity to companies from India who wants to find right partners in Canada, because maybe our colleagues from Alberta can throw some light on agri-tech space or agricultural collaboration. Of course, as I said, this country has a lot of technology and best practices available, which would be very interesting for our own programs in India, because a lot of issues are around downstream sector, warehousing, food processing, and things like that. So I think finding a right partner in Canada would go a long way in serving our own national goals.
Right. I think, Megan, you had a slide on the taxation for, and there's a question, I believe there was 8% tax in Alberta, you had indicated. I think the question was if there's a 15% foreign investor tax in Alberta. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Answer is no. I think that probably the question comes for certainly Vancouver and British Columbia have a foreign investor tax, and places like Kelowna, BC have a tax, which has kind of been to deal with offshore buying of residential homes. But no, there isn't that tax in Alberta. The 8% is the corporate business tax that I mentioned.
Okay.
So there's no foreign investor tax. And I'm happy to, there's a couple other questions probably I should address. There is a question more about trade. So companies that they're interested in doing business in India. I guess I can't speak to that as much. My team deals more on the investment side, but there are lots of people on the trade side at the government of Alberta that we could certainly connect into if that's of interest in terms of, investment going the other way. There's a question about helping startups build their team once they set up in Alberta. Yep, absolutely. That's something that Jennifer at Platform mentioned they support, and certainly our team supports as well. So when companies are on the ground and they're trying to build awareness about their company and their jobs, there's lots of things we can plug Indian companies into that will help them grow their talent base in Alberta. So yes. There is a question about supporting the government of Alberta on an upcoming trade mission. I'm not quite sure what that's about, or if that's the one that maybe Manish, they're talking about the one that you're leading.
Yeah, probably we'll facilitate that mission.
Okay.
Any potential missions in the future.
Sure. Yeah, that's a little.
Along with the High Council General.
Yeah, I think your teams will have a better view of that.
I can just add in there too.
What's that, Jen?
Sure.
Oh, no, yeah, we have the trade commissioner services are going to have a rotating presence here as well. And so there might be some connection in there as far as that goes. And just on the talent side, we have programming, educational support on like how to hire, when to hire, as well as job board and something we're launching called Tech Talent Tuesday, which is every week we can have posting a company that is hiring and exposing them to a large community of potential founders. Sorry to interrupt you, Megan.
No, that's perfect. That's a good addition. Yeah, talent, like I said, it's a top priority for all the organizations in our worlds that are supporting companies. It's the most important. So lots of tools we can use to support.
Sure. And one audience member, I think, he had written to us earlier also. He would be in Toronto, but I think his business is in pharmaceutical and sanitary masks development and supply. But he's open to have that, expand those service and business even to other provinces. So he will be physically, he's there logged in. I can see his question. From June onwards in Canada. So perhaps we can connect him to your, offices for any kind of, if he's interested in Alberta, per se.
Yep, absolutely. We have somebody who leads the life science sector on the team, so we can get them connected.
A question on tourism also, if you want to throw any light on that, if there are any areas for collaboration or partnerships amongst your members over there?
Yeah, great question. Obviously, it's a massive sector. I didn't mention it because there's an entire organization in Calgary and Alberta that's focused entirely on tourism. So outside of the work we do and what Platform does, that organization is called Tourism Calgary. And then their counterpart provincially is Travel Alberta. So those two organizations are the ones that support everything tourism related. That's why I didn't mention it. Great question.
Great. Any closing thoughts, Manish, sir, Mr. Grover, Megan, Jan, Aastha? I think we are towards the end of the questions here.
I believe this is a good beginning of post-pandemic. The province of Alberta and India has connected in a more formal way. And we'll take this forward very soon. Next month, we are going to receive a delegation from NASSCOM, which is IT-based non-profit association of India. They are coming. They will be visiting Alberta also, and we are working with Megan and her team to set up a program for that. As some queries were posed about what sectors or subsectors are there for cooperation. I think I had, in my remarks, I had listed out the key sectors which will be beneficial for both countries would be energy, agriculture, IT and IT related services, education, and of course tourism. I think we can take some best practices out of tourism sector from Alberta, because the way they manage high altitude and tourism and winter tourism, I think that would be of great interest to developments in India, also in the northern part of India. So I think that is if bringing in tourists to Canada or the reverse, there is already a critical mass and connectivity is quite good. Of course, Alberta is not directly connected to India, but sooner than later, I think that will happen once more people fly in and fly out of Alberta for work or other. But currently from Western Canada, 10 flights are there. From Eastern Canada, about 17 flights are there linking to India. So connectivity is there. So tourism is bound to increase between both sides. I'll stop here. I think
definitely.
This was a productive engagement, and I think those who are on call can follow up with us, my office or the office of Megan or Jennifer to get more information. So similarly, the Canadian companies who are interested to find more about opportunities in India, based on the presentation of our colleague from Invest India, Aastha, they can write to them. As was mentioned, we have a dedicated Canada desk in Invest India who are there to support. Of course, Nadira and Swavik is also there to facilitate conversations between the two sides.
Thank you, CG sir. Thank you, everybody. And I think it has been a good session. It's been a good start with Alberta. Looking forward to have much more engaging sessions and hopefully a physical trade mission to Alberta, from ICBC side in the near future in collaboration with the Consul General. So here on, we conclude our session. We will be happy to connect, the participants here in the audience today with all of you post session, and also share the recording for any kind of analysis that needs to be done. I thank all of you on behalf of Nadira, Hamid, and the Indo-Canadian Business Chamber for joining in today. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.